Now the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you may not be right for some. A man is born, he's a man of means. Then along come two, they got nothing but the genes. They got different strokes it takes, different strokes it takes, different strokes to move the world. Everybody's got a special kind of story. Everybody finds a way to shine. It don't matter that you got not a lot. So what? They'll have theirs, you'll have yours, and I'll have mine. And together we'll be fine. As it takes different strokes to move the world. Yes, it does. It takes different strokes to move the world.
We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they could send us to the morgue. We are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No. Get off this fucking neck. Love that makes you know can't fucking breathe. Love that makes you know We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun
Welcome,
and
ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joke, your home for all things combat sports and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bronco. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joke channel belong solely to the person expressing them, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. if it's Sunday, what did I say? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the What Did I Say show, the show where we bring you all the juiciest recaps and hold ourselves accountable for the shit talking we did on the I'm No Joe podcast from this previous week. Before we get into all the fun little bits we have got to talk about from this weekend smorgasbord of fun, how the fuck you doing over there, brother?
Doing pretty good. I'm tired as fuck after the gym today, man. That jujitsu, it's fucking tough. I came close. To fucking getting some promoters. I only got subbed a few times,
Fun times, though.
I even had one of the dudes that fights. He said I'm fucking strong as shit. So I like, now I'm building. So I'm just tired.
Progress, still progress. So, excuse me. I realized after we went off the air Thursday, I forgot to actually mention why we were so excited about all of the punchy kicky that took place over this weekend when we got into the shenaniganry that led into the Pit Grand Prix portion of the episode. There was actually a bunch of different cards this weekend. The PFL's playoff series took place. That was actually one of the only things that I didn't watch anything of. Last I saw, Kayla Harrison was a minus 20,000 favorite to the plus 12,000 person that she was fighting. And I think we established that might be the most extreme set of odds in a fucking fight we have seen like that. Like, we thought it was bad when they had Valentina at the minus 6,000 favorite. This just blew that out of the whole fucking water. So needless to say, I didn't tune in over there. Everything down that PFL card went kind of exactly how anybody who's even spent 20 seconds watching any of their stats could have predicted that it was going to go, all the way down to Kayla crushing that fucking can and making those odds obliterate any chance of anybody making money on that fucking fight. But after that, the Usyk versus Joshua 2 boxing card took place Saturday afternoon. And much like most of the major boxing promotions, Matchbox being no exception to the rule, it was basically a card filled with people that no one had any fucking clue who they were except the extreme hardcore boxing fans. And then Usyk versus Joshua headlining it, a rematch that honestly no one asked for, but it was basically contractually obligated and went pretty much exactly like anyone who watched the first fight thought that it was going to go. Usyk basically boringly defended himself at a distance and landed a couple of good heavy strikes when he got the opportunity, to Joshua trying to outwork him and not being able to do it. And then for whatever fucking reason, despite him being quote unquote officially retired for the second time now, I believe, after the boring decision win Usyk managed to stumble his way into, he, like everyone else right now, called out Tyson Fury. So, as if you needed more proof that boxing really is on fucking life support right now, like, there's maybe a half a dozen names that the average casual could recognize in all of boxing, weight class be damned, gender be damned. Like, the average person that doesn't follow any combat sports probably couldn't name you two active boxers right now. Cards like that prove exactly why it's like that, and it's only going to get worse. Then we get to the early real fun from this weekend. BKFC 27 live from the OVO Arena in London, England. Much like probably every BKFC event they have put on since they started, not the best top to bottom, but as a whole, pretty fucking decent. I know you're always supposed to like root for your quote unquote hometown dude. And despite the fact that the hillbilly hammer Sam Shoemaker is from Gravois Mills, I have never been able to even consider getting behind that big dumb fucking redneck. He is now officially 4-5 in his BKFC career, and all 5 of those losses were brutal knockout losses. This being no exception. He got fucking face planted yesterday. It was like to be expected, but at the same time, like I think it's about time we stop giving Sam contracts. Like if he's not going to retire because he's too fucking stupid and too tough to quit, there's a point where you're going to have to cut that motherfucker loose. And I think we're just about there. He is now sub 500. Like, how long are we going to let this dude continue to get fucking CTE for $25,000 checks? That being said, Joe Elmore is a tough motherfucker. Nobody has, I don't think, ever disputed the fact that Joe Elmore is a tough motherfucker. Now, whether he's as good as he thinks he is, that's the thing that people tend to take a little bit of issue with. And Connor Tierney, to his credit, tried to tell Joe for the last like 4 months, like, you're making this out to be way easier than you, or making it out to be much more than you think it's going to be. Like, you seem to think you're going to just walk through this, and I don't think you understand what you signed up for. Then the fucking opening bell went off, and Connor Tierney, like he always does, used great fucking movement, fucking crisp striking, sharp ass fucking movement, and stiff fucking counter punches, and literally just busted Joe Elmore's whole goddamn face open. He looked like a fucking jigsaw puzzle when it was all said and done. He was fucking rough. He was wearing it. I think that might have been one of the better call outs we've seen in BKFC. I think it's absolutely fucking right. Connor Tierney versus Luis Palomino for that fucking belt next, I think, is the fight to make. I think that's going to be fucking spectacular. David Feldman seemed to be not opposed to it. He doesn't know what Palomino's plans are yet because he's talking about double champ shit. So we'll see. But then we get to that main event yesterday. The reason that they went to London. Aluminum Mike Perry versus Michael Venom Page. Holy shit, boys and girls. For an organization like BKFC, this was BKFC 27. I think they've only been around for 6 years total or 7 years total now, less than a decade. This main event was the second time in the entire history of BKFC that a fight went to a historic winner-take-all 6th final round. They got to the 5th round, and it was a split draw. And in the event of a split draw in the main event rules, they go to a winner-take-all sudden death round, and they did. To his credit, MVP stayed very much MVP, kept his hands at his waist for most of the fights, tried to do his dance and in and out thing, but I said going into this fight, man, that kind of cocky, flashy shit is tailor-made for Mike Perry, who's as tough as $2 shoe leather and doesn't give a fuck about looking good. He's going to rush straight down the goddamn pipe, climb in the phone booth, and start swinging fucking hammers. Guess what he did? Guess what he did? Go ahead, I'll give you a second. Guess. He
beat some ass, swung some hammers, drew some fucking blood.
He did exactly fucking that. Now, I will say, I make a point to say it all the fucking time, and we will say it till this fucking show dies. Regardless of how you feel about someone, credit where credit is due. Some of MVP's flashy bullshit legitimately did catch Perry off guard. He did land a couple of really nice shots. The difference is he never really hurt Perry. He stumbled him a couple times at a couple of really clean fucking shots, but he never hurt Mike Perry. That cheek of his looked like he was smuggling acorns by the end of the match. But the difference is every single fucking time Mike Perry put hands on MVP, he hurt that motherfucker. He didn't just touch him, he hurt that motherfucker. And you could see it. And MVP's face was swelling up Iward Sky, son, real fucking bad by the time the end of that fucking 5th round came. And you could tell they were both starting to run out of fucking steam come 6th round. But Mike Perry might be one of the toughest cans on this goddamn planet because he never fucking quits, and he came out swinging big fucking hammers in round 6 and landed some massive goddamn shots. I think he dropped MVP 3 times in total in the whole fight. Every one of them was a solid fucking crack. And then winner take all, 6th round, you give Mike Perry one last chance to catch his breath and then hit you again to win everything regardless of what else happened. That's made for Mike Perry, because guess what? That goofy motherfucker bit down on his mouthpiece and swang hammers double time, and he clocked MVP several times real fucking good. Sloppy as all fucking get out. It was horrible, man. Horrible fucking accuracy and technically speaking, but goddamn was it glorious in that fucking 170-pound walrus slap fight, literal barn burner kind of shit you expect to see in someone's actual backyard kind of fucking fight. Like, it lived up to every bit of the $3 or whatever the fuck BKFC wanted you to pay to watch that shit. I didn't, but it would have been justifiable if someone did for the couple bucks that they asked just to see that fucking history-making slobber knocker. And then I'm not going to talk about it because the commission has spoken, but go watch Mike Perry's post-fight call-out. After he apologizes to his mom for calling her a bitch in the pre-fight buildup, that part, like, that was fucking hilarious because that's candid Mike Perry. You could tell his mama sent him a text because he said she was a tough bitch and he's going to get in trouble for that. But after that part, like the actual call-out part, just chef's kiss moment. So Mike Perry doing Mike Perry things, MVP being just as dumb as he always has been and fucking paying for it this time. You'd have thought that fucking Douglas Lima shit would have taught him to keep his goddamn hands to his face. It didn't. This probably won't either, but we'll see.
So you think we could convince TJ to watch it if Mike Perry actually gets to fight that guy that he called out?
I bet that would probably be the single exception that TJ would make.
Yeah, because you know Mike Perry's going to knock him the fuck out. Or at least that's the whole point why
he's gonna fuck him up. Yeah, if not, he's gonna bleed. Like, Mike Perry will draw blood from you. I don't care who the fuck you are. Like, MVP was bleeding all over the goddamn place when it was all said and done. He had a trickle of blood just running out his nose, cut under, I think it was his left eye that was just pouring down his face. Both of them all swollen up. His lips were fucking busted and shit. Yeah, Perry's gonna draw fucking blood on you, even if you beat him.
Part. So I loved that one bit. He was like, "If you're too much of a bitch to come over here, I might fucking put the pillows back on."
Pillows back on for you. God damn you, aluminum Mike. I love when you do stupid shit like that. He's my favorite Florida man ever. He really is. He really fucking is. Now, that being said, that will bring us back over to the end of the evening and Mike Perry's former home, the UFC, and the insanity that Salt Lake City brought. So first and foremost, I have to admit, I knew that Salt Lake City was in the mountains. I did not realize it was at 5,000 feet elevation. I thought it was only like 2,000, 2,500-ish. Like, not terrible, but like not like mountains, not like Denver shit. Like, no, it's full on, like, right fucking, like, it's just a little lower than Denver. It's almost all the fucking way up there too. And I did not realize that until they started talking about how high they actually were up in the goddamn thing. And even just the people who weren't athletes, just the press there was like, fuck, like, this sucks. Like, what the fuck? So yeah, I didn't realize that going into making any of my picks, and my picks definitely reflected that. I'm sure TJ's gonna have a fucking field day with
That
that.
was one other reason why I went with Leon, man. Not only do I like the underdogs, but he fucking showed up in Salt Lake weeks ago. And he's been there for fucking weeks trying to get acclimated to that motherfucking shit. And I was like,
Right.
I don't necessarily think that was a huge advantage, but it's just he was able to just get used to everything, get in the right vibe.
Against somebody else, I would agree that would have been an advantage. But against a
Yeah,
guy
I don't think it
who
was
literally
much,
has
but
lived and trained in Denver at
more
fucking
mental
altitude
than the
for
physical.
like
You know?
6 years, he's probably the only person on this card who wasn't affected by the fight being as high above sea level as it was. Usman's probably the only one there who was
No,
like, "This
yeah.
is
Well,
nothing."
as we'll get on later, he fucking
Yeah,
dominated the entire fight.
yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely get more into that for sure. But as has been the case in at least the last 4 in a row, maybe the last 5 cards in a row, the opening goddamn fight, just fuckery from the beginning of the goddamn card to let you know if you thought this was just going to be a cool, casual, enjoyable evening to just watch flow naturally. Fuck no. The opening goddamn fight might have seen one of the dumbest fucking moves I can remember in a long fucking time. The fucking flying knee, just ridiculous stupidity. Back and forth, kind of weird fucking shots. First round finished. So opening fight right out of the gate. Shit's gonna be insane. Don't get comfortable. Arichi Lung and Perrin was kind of weird. Not the worst fight on the card, not the best by any stretch of the imagination. Shows that both guys still have a lot to work on. But then we get to that early, quote unquote, early premier prelim fight. Biggie Figgy Smalls and then Amir Albazi. That one was a little weird considering that Francisco is the Figueiredo brother who specializes in the submissions, whereas Figueiredo has always been the striker who then learned submissions into his game. They started on opposite sides and kind of cross-trained backwards. Considering how easy Amir Albazi, who we've seen be a fairly effective soup can in his little bit of time in the UFC, came in and just fucking manhandled Biggie Figgy Smalls and had his goddamn way with him and almost got him a couple times real quick. And then eventually slow worked his way in to get it. Just Francisco got fucking handled on the ground. For a submission specialist like he's supposed to be, that was fucking embarrassing, especially after all the shit he was talking about how his brother should go up to, bantamweight and leave the straw weights for him to fight and then to come out and shit the bed that hard in round 1. Not a good look, to say the least. So okay, I might have misspoke earlier. There was one other fight where the difference in elevation was painfully obvious to watch play out in real time. That was the first fight of the actual the actual prelims rather. AJ Fletcher versus Andre Losa. AJ Fletcher gave it the old fucking Ferrari tried. Like he came out of round 1 with his foot buried on the gas pedal and no thought of lifting off of it. And to his credit, he did some good work. But that boy dumped every ounce of energy he had in the first 5 minutes and then spent the next 10 minutes painfully paying for it as Andre Losa just beat the dog shit out of him, not having much more gas, but still very much more gas than poor fucking AJ Fletcher had. Like, that dude was almost ready to fucking tap in or tap out rather in between rounds 1 and 2. By the time they got to the actual 15-minute mark, I thought we were going to have an oxygen mask brought to the fucking cage. Like, this was a welterweight version of Kimbo Slice versus Dada 5000. Like, this was horrible by the time it got to the whole end of it. But AJ Fletcher, you can tell, is a boy who trains, lives, and embraces sea level in Louisiana. And being all the way up there in those mountains, like we talked about in Salt Lake City, that dude's battery gauge went nope immediately. Yeah, that sucked to watch a little bit. But then we get to Sean Woodson versus Luis Saldana. In the very first round, Sean Woodson gets dropped not once, but twice. And then the single stupidest maneuver in the solid knee, dumber than the flying knee attempt from earlier, because this one was intentional, knowingly illegal, and actually wasn't really punished properly. Sean Woodson clearly down on the ground. Luis Saldana running fucking kneed him right in the face. Sean Woodson still had a knee on the ground, and I believe both hands when the knee made contact. Like, he was clearly on the ground. Similar to how Mighty Mouse got done, but in an event where that's not legal to do. So, yeah. But in this situation, seeing that he fully did it intentionally just cost him a point. Whereas when Jan unintentionally did it, Aldo got a fucking belt for it. So I think we still have a little bit of clarity that needs to be defined in refereeing when it comes to illegal strikes like that, especially when they're clearly intentional, as this one very much was. And I encourage you all to go back and watch it after this. It's a 3-second shot, and you'll be like, oh, fuck that guy.
I think the biggest thing for me was just they kept it going because Sean Woodson seemed fine. And he was telling the ref, no, I'm cool. Like, where Aljo, man, like, I don't even think it was as bad as he made it look. He played it off really big, and he didn't want to keep going with the fight. So that's why they gave the disqualification, because he wasn't going to keep going. So they're like, well, we got to call the fight. So that was a legal shot. Yeah. Whereas Sean Woodson's like adamantly to the ref, no, I'm good. Let's fucking keep going. So they're just like, oh, okay, we'll take a point.
Good. Yeah.
Which I think still sucked. That fucking the judging on that one, man. Like, those 2 rounds after that, I felt like Sean did pretty decent. I mean, it wasn't a great fight after that, but he did enough that he won those rounds, and he should have got the win, especially with the fucking point loss in the first.
Yeah.
But the draw there, and then TJ showed us in the chat earlier this morning who was judging, so it made sense.
Yeah, so we kind of had a feeling, and I'd mentioned this previously, like, you can almost fucking put money on it when there's one of the infamous 5 involved. There's potential for fuckery. When you got, I think there was 3 of them, 3 of the infamous 5 were all on the 278 panel at some point last night, like, and then I believe all 3 of them were on the main event itself, which was scary to see them in unison on, but yeah, we'll get there. So yeah, split draw. I still think it should have been a fucking DQ for the knee. I absolutely do, but I think split draw is about as close as you can get to it. It just sucks because, like they mentioned, in a split draw, neither one of them get the win bonus, so they both get a half a check. So Sean Woodson's actually getting penalized for doing the right thing and being the stand-up guy in the situation, and not playing the Aljo move and acting it out and playing it up and forcing them to DQ. So Sean Woodson's a tough motherfucker, and it cost him half his paycheck for it. Fuck the UFC sometimes. That being said, though, Leonardo Santos can be so fucking aggravating sometimes. That fucking Jared Gordon, like, I've been anti Jared Gordon since the last time he was in Abu Dhabi and we found out all that fucking stuff about just how much of a scumbag he really is. And then we saw him literally do the most egregious fence grab of the fucking evening, in an evening, mind you, where there were over a dozen notable fence grabs. This one being the single most egregious of a literal more than dozen significant fence grabs. It should tell you something, but in case it doesn't, Jesus fucking Christ, he literally saved his own ass from getting flung. And Herb Dean, to his fucking credit, restarted them because he caught it. And he took away the position for it. But still,
For the most part, though, it's just like, here, let me grab your hand off the fence. Get your hand off the fence. Get your hand
that
off the fence.
old nun slap game that they've started doing now instead of actually taking a fucking point like the referee should be fucking doing.
That's the only way that they're going to stop fucking doing it.
It doesn't happen often.
If it costs them a fight, they're not going to grab the fucking fence.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. No, it does not happen often, but I absolutely 100% agreed with what DC said in the moment, that it's so fucking blatantly obvious at this point that it's only going to get worse unless you make it mandatory that there is no warning for fouls like a fence grab or an eye poke or a groin shot. You automatically take a point anytime any significant foul like that happens. Otherwise, they're going to keep going on the warning system and it's going to get worse. Like Mike Heck says, cheat until they make you stop. And if they're not going to make you stop, keep fucking cheating until you win. What reason do they have to deter from fucking cheating when Herb Dean just takes the position away? No point. And it made no fucking difference because he didn't start them legitimately on the ground, just down. So they popped right the fuck back up. So it made no fucking difference. If you needed more of a reason to be anti Jared Gordon, this was a pretty good one. That fence grab literally saved his life and cost Leonardo Santos that fight. And it wasn't an exciting or a one-sided fight to begin with, but that quite literally stemmed what Leonardo Santos had worked to build momentum up into what could have very well been a near end of the fight with that significant power fucking takedown that was incoming and a black belt fucking jiu-jitsu specialist in Santos. That could have very well been a bad fucking move and potential end of the fight for Gordon, but we'll never fucking know now, will we, Jared? So that'll bring us to one of the other very painfully evident cases of not spending enough time acclimating to altitude being painfully obvious. Alexander Romanov basically derailed his own fucking hype train off the side of a mountain in Salt Lake City. Marcin Tybura, we said it time and time again, he's not a world breaker, but you can't underestimate that fucking Polak. That dude is tougher than you could ever fucking think he would be by looking at him. He has spent a significant amount of time himself training at altitude, so it was no big deal to him to be up in Salt Lake City. And Alexander Romanov, I will say this, I think he was there a week and a half out, or almost just shy of 2 weeks. I think it was like 10 days or something, 10 or 12 days, shy of 2 weeks out there. But when you're not used to training at any kind of an altitude, going significantly that high up and thinking a week and a couple of days is going to be enough to get you ready to fight under that type of pressure, it's not. Plain and simple, it's not. Like, you might be able to walk around and not be winded anymore, but you're not ready to get in for 15 hard minutes of actively fucking cage fighting another man after a week and a couple days. And Romanoff found that out the hard way because Fletcher set the playbook here for gassing all your fucking energy out in the first. Because Romanoff was trying to follow that goddamn playbook. He was trying to give it the old what for in round one. And the problem was Romanoff didn't make it to the end of round one. Like he gassed out before round one was over and then was in big fucking trouble, huffing and puffing before one finished. Tybura held his own, man. Tybura has a gas tank, and he has a gas tank at altitude. He went that whole 15 minutes and never slowed the fuck down once. Didn't look the greatest doing it, but he didn't slow down even a little bit. And Romanoff, much like AJ Fletcher, his gas tank went, fuck you, and just dumped immediately. So, like, there were several members of the MMA media who were like, after seeing that shit, I'm off the Romanoff fucking hype train altogether. Like, you're gonna have to earn me back from that shit. And it's kind of understandable because Tybura might not be a world breaker, but he's also not a full-on fucking can either. And he fucking showed that last night when he started putting the fucking wood to old Romanoff out there while he was gassed as fuck. He couldn't quite put him away, but he put the fucking wood to him. That's for damn sure. No. And then there are times when I don't mind being wrong, and then there are times where it's like, look, I fucking told you that this isn't an educated guess. Like, if I could bet in my fucking state, this would have been where I dumped my chunk of fucking coin. Tyson fucking Pedro is back and he is on a fucking tear. And Harry Hunsucker does not fight at light heavyweight traditionally. He didn't want to fight at light heavyweight and has said so publicly several times. He doesn't like the weight cut. He enjoys being a smaller heavyweight rather than being a drained light heavyweight. And he should have taken his own fucking advice. Because Tyson Pedro is a bad, bad man, and he's a very strong light heavyweight who doesn't have an issue with that weight cut. And it didn't take but a minute, literally, for him to say goodnight, Sally, and put fucking Harry on the canvas in a hard fucking way. Like, the first punch, literally, the first punch Tyson Pedro touched Harry Hunsucker with, the jab that he flipped out first, you saw stutter stepped Harry immediately. And when he threw that fucking clean shot to follow over, that man was staring at fucking rafters hard. Tyson Pedro is back. If he doesn't get hurt, if he can stay injury free, 205 is going to be so fun next year. Oh my God, 205 is going to be fun next year. That being said, one of the more surprising moments, for me at least, of the evening came from the ladies. Wu Yanan versus Lucy Pudilova on her second stint now back in the UFC. Oh, can you stop jingling your fucking bell? Thank you. Jesus Christ. Lucy Pudilova, I swear to God, was a fucking poster child for Suboxone in her first run through the UFC. She looked like she was 2 seconds from fucking nodding out in her fights, even. Like, she had that perma opioid kind of half glazed look about her. And to her credit, that's mostly gone. But she absolutely has picked it up skill wise and gotten her shit much, much better than she was her first run in the UFC. Wu Yanan, despite working with a great fucking team, just cannot seem to put the fucking pieces together for whatever reason. we saw some glimpses of fucking potential in her early on, but man, lately it seems like she can't do anything except shit the bed, and that sucks. Lucy Pudilova, though, hey, she could be a very interesting problem at 135 on her second round through here. Ladies 135 is getting ready to get crazy again with that whole Amanda situation back to settled, quote unquote, and Juliana having to do some fucking work because that bitch is not getting a fucking third shot back right away. She gonna have to do some shit now, one way or another. Just opens up room for ladies like Pudilova on her second run through to come in and do work. So I'm not saying she's there. I'm saying we'll see. It could be interesting. That'll bring us to the legend. Jose Aldo versus Miriam. I don't know if Jose really does have fucking Benjamin Button syndrome or whatever the fuck it is, but he's getting older and smaller and stronger, and it's fucking weird. He is noticeably starting to get a little more timid, specifically in his fucking bantamweight fights, but there's only so much you really need to worry about when you can hold Marab the Machine Dvalishvili to 0-16 on takedowns. And even Marab said himself, no one in his entire life has ever been able to stop him the way that Jose Aldo was able to stop him. He said it didn't matter. Center of the octagon, that's my house, and I couldn't take him down. Up against the cage, I'm very good, and I couldn't take him down. Working against an angle, trying to push backwards, I'm very good. Couldn't do it to take him down. Jose Aldo just refused to get fucking taken down. It was pretty goddamn impressive. I really wish he would have fucking been a little more aggressive. There are several times where he had Marab confused as shit and could have started pouring it on and done work, but he stayed real fucking hesitant. And then I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on for just a second here, and I don't give a shit because it's my fucking show and I'm going to do it. But I'm telling you right now, as they went to the translator between rounds 2 and 3, I don't speak the language fluently enough to verify it myself, but I'm telling you right now, we did not get the entire translation of what his coaches said to Jose Aldo in between rounds 2 and 3, because there was a noticeably different fighter in round 3 than there was in rounds 1 and 2. He was abso-fucking-lutely phoning it in and coasting round 3, almost as if his coach told him after round 2, you've got this in the bag, 2-0, just don't get hurt and the fight is yours. Which is not outside the realm of something that a coach would say to a fighter in that situation if they really believed it. It's not smart, as everyone verified. That's not something you should ever really tell your fighter, but it's understandable that that might have been what was said, because god damn it, if he was not half-assing it noticeably in that fucking third round. And even though Marab could not land a fucking takedown to literally save his life, he also never was really threatened by Jose enough to have lost the fight when it went to the judge's fucking decision. Unanimous was understandable. I don't agree with the one judge that said it was 30-27. That dude's smoking fucking crack, but we already talked about how the judging was going to be on this card tonight, and they fucking proved it. So Jose Aldo's a legend, but he couldn't stop Marab when he should have been able to when it counted. Great wrestling defense, but that don't win you fights. 0-16 is still fucking impressive, but you don't get points for stopping takedowns, unfortunately. So that brings us to one of the, in my opinion, indisputable fight of the year candidates, potentially Hall of Fame worthy fights, in my opinion, for tenacity, if fucking nothing else. But pulse endangering back and forth moments between Luke Rockhold and Paolo Costa. Man, Luke Rockhold is one of the toughest motherfuckers to ever fight in the UFC. Weight class be damned. That dude's one of the toughest motherfuckers ever to put on UFC gloves, in my opinion. And I'll fucking fight you if you don't agree with me. I'm not saying Luke Rockhold came out looking the best he's ever looked, but I'm telling you that you couldn't pay Luke Rockhold to quit, and he had every fucking reason and opportunity to. In the first round, Paulo Costa landed a big shot that clearly just blew Luke's fucking nose up and started dripping blood, and you could see it was giving him problems immediately. He kept wiping it. He kept trying to adjust it. He kept like pushing it and fucking with it during the fight. You could see right away that it was a problem, that he most likely got that fucker broke hard. And then every time Paulo had the opportunity afterwards, he went back and kept drilling on that nose, knowing it was fucking broke. Luke got hurt. And I don't mean a little bit. I mean, Luke got fucking hurt in that fight. It's going to legitimately take Luke Rockhold months to heal from the injuries he sustained in that goddamn fight. But he didn't fucking quit. And he could have. And he realistically probably should have. And he didn't. He hung in there through what you could tell was physically and spiritually fucking hurting him to endure. But he was too fucking tough to say I quit. And
he is somebody we didn't even know. Like I didn't know, at least going into the fight, that staph infection. He got the medical exemption to wear the fucking sleeve because he had a staph infection on his leg. And apparently it was really bad. He's been taking antibiotics for it. He still said, fuck it.
For years.
Push through to fight.
Yeah.
That in itself was crazy. And every time he'd get rocked and he'd get his ass beat, Paolo would take him to the ground, he'd hop back up, and then just wham, wham, just fucking roundhouse the body, just wham,
it's
wham,
basically
wham.
scar tissue. He's shown it a couple times without the neoprene sleeve that he gets to wear. It's basically a gnarly mass of scar tissue all the way down the front of his fucking shin from the fucking staph infection fucking him up, and he doesn't give a shit. He threw like baseball bat on a heavy bag sounding swift, strong fucking body kicks constantly on Paolo's ribs throughout that fight. I don't give a fuck what he said. I'm willing to bet Paulo Costa's rib cage is very bruised today. And if not, it will be tomorrow morning for goddamn sure. He ate some serious shots. But Luke got fucked up. And then in a moment that he abso-fucking-lutely earned, when the fight was over, he took his gloves off and he said one of the most honest and relatable things anyone has ever said at the end of a fight in that fucking octagon. I'm fucking old. I can't do this anymore. He thanked the UFC. He thanked the fans. He thanked Joe Rogan. And he hung it up. Thank you, Luke Rockhold, for your unfucking deniable contribution to the UFC and MMA as a whole. If Luke Rockhold doesn't end up in a fucking Hall of Fame, nothing we do should fucking matter anymore, because that man quite literally spray painted Paulo Costa's face with his fucking broken nose to end that fight. And I'm not exaggerating, and I'm not trying to be funny. He literally used his broken nose as a fucking paintbrush, held Paulo Costa down, blew active blood bubbles out his fucking nostrils, and painted Paulo's face with his fucking broken nose. Only Luke Rockhold could have thought in that moment, this is what I'm going to do to him. This is what's going to make me memorable. And he did. Luke fucking Rockhold, man. Luke fucking Rockhold. I hope that dude enjoys his fucking retirement. I have no doubt he's going to be a great fucking wrestling coach somewhere. I bet they end up getting him in a fucking analyst position at some point as well. Because Luke Rockhold, though he's kind of a douchebag, knows his shit. He earned that retirement for damn sure. That will bring us to the main event, the reason for the season, the marquee banner of 278. The rerun, was it 6 years in the making? I think they said it was, or 5 years in the making.
7. It was 2015 when they fought last.
Oh no shit! It was 2015. Okay, so yeah, 7 years in the making. It was something like that. Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards 2 for the welterweight strap. If you guys follow the UFC and you followed any kind of time period on the UFC, the name of this episode should have given you a real quick indication if you did miss what happened last night to how that card played out. Leon Edwards, Nate Diaz'd, Kamaru Usman successfully. What Nate Diaz tried to do to Leon Edwards successfully did to Kamaru Usman. And I will say, to his credit, if the motivational speech Leon's coach screamed in his fucking ear after the 4th round on that stool doesn't light a fucking fire in your ass that liquid nitrogen can't extinguish, it was never there to begin with. I'm still healing from knee surgery, and after that motherfucker said his piece, I was ready to get up and start fucking boxing. Like, you want to tag me in? Do we need me to finish this for you? Like, that motherfucker had me fucking going. Like, and it worked. It fucking worked because Leon, in my opinion, was more active, more aggressive in round 5 than he was in the previous 20 fucking minutes that led us there. And literally, with less than 30 seconds left in the goddamn fight, right about that point where Nate Diaz landed that fucking 209er and gave him the fucking finger point, Leon Edwards timed out the Cheeto Vera absolutely perfectly. He feinted, and as soon as Kamaru dipped, that fucking head kick damn perfectly right on Kamaru's fucking face, full goddamn impact, and immediately sat him down unconscious, staring off with a 1,000-yard glance. Just fucking textbook, perfectly landed at 4:35 in the 5th fucking round of a fight where the commentators were quite literally talking about how at this point just making it to the decision and losing is probably the moral victory that Edwards was resting his hat on at that point. And looking at him, he spent 4 minutes of that fight as a defeated man. It was completely understandable to see his composure and his fucking mannerisms and think that dude's broken and he is just holding on to maybe I'll be able to make it to the fucking end of the fight. Sad little Leon pulled one out of his ass in that 5th fucking round and just fucking clobbered Kamaru Usman with a fucking disturbingly accurate shot right on the money and ended that bitch. And then you saw exactly what happened to Leon. He just got over fucking whelmed in that moment. Holy shit.
It was a literal fucking Rocky moment, just like his goddamn nickname, man.
Yeah,
total
literally.
Inspiration. Like, take an ass whooping for 24 and a half minutes. You just didn't give up. You don't give up. You can get your ass beat the whole fucking night, but as long as you keep on fucking coming, and it might just fucking happen, and that's why this is the greatest fucking sport in the world. No different than John Anik and Joe Rogan said last night, man. Hey, God damn. I can only imagine how many people actually watched it live just like we did. And we both know we freaked the fuck out. I was actually starting to lay down. Me and Vincent were like, yeah, Kamaru's got it. We were getting a little bored. And I was starting to doze off. I hadn't passed out yet. And then I see Leon get the kick. And as soon I shot up, I was like, holy, he started freaking out.
Yep.
Oh my God, he fucking did it. Everybody had counted him out. I was literally like, yeah, it was bedtime. Kamaru got the win. He's greatest of all time. There you go.
I was getting ready to fucking do a dab. I was like, yeah, what's this gonna be fucking lather, rinse, repeat for the next fucking 30 seconds here, and then oh fuck. No, Leon changed the fucking world, man. That Cheeto Vera fucking feint to head kick combination turned Usman into a fucking instant meme. Literally within 20 seconds, there was already fucking shit going out on the internet.
And then that fucking speech at the end too. Good God, look at me now.
Yeah, no, he was all fucking fired up, rightfully fucking so. Second fucking good, British world champion, first Jamaican born world champion, first British trained world champion. Like, he made a legitimate bunch of fucking history last night, man. We say it all the fucking time. Said it earlier already. Gonna say it a million times more. Regardless of how you feel about somebody, credit where credit is due. Leon Edwards earned that fucking welterweight belt last night.
And then that trilogy fight is going to be the biggest fucking fight in UFC history. Good God. I mean, it may not live up to it once we get to the fight. The fight may not be that exciting. We might get what we got with like Juliana and Amanda, but it's going to be a hell of a fucking hype up.
The fact that it was this crazy just in the rematch that nobody really nobody really thought this was like the fight that had to be made, the rematch, that got away from fucking Kamaru. No, like, he won the first one. Like, this was Leon's rematch to work for, and even then nobody was really that excited about it coming into it. And then the third one, because of how crazy this one ended, night of, and this never fucking happens, night of, Dana White was openly talking about going to London for the rematch and considering a fucking stadium. He's obviously mentioned and reinforced that he's apprehensive about it because it rains a lot in fucking England, and he doesn't want to risk putting on an outdoor event and having fucking rain happen, especially with a title fight this fucking significant on the line, understandably. But there are also stadiums in England with fucking roofs on them where you could put 25, 30, 40, 50,000 fucking people and have it really be a crazy ass fucking fight. I think the biggest thing, though, at least I've only heard a couple people talk about it so far, and mostly in a derogatory manner, understandably. The biggest thing that this really does to the UFC, though, is it keeps things going the way that they should have been all along. The whole talking about 205, talking about boxing Canelo, talking about spending more time doing movies, that shit all goes out the window now. Mike Heck said it best. This doesn't erase what Kamaru Usman has done in the last 8 years or whatever, but it makes it irrelevant, because if he wants to try and top what he was about to potentially do with the GSP record, GSP and Anderson Silva fucking records, he literally has to start from scratch. He was at 15. He needed 16. It took him 8 fucking years to get there. Realistically, Usman doesn't have another 8 years at top level to get back to that, in my opinion. So any chance Marty had of taking that Silva spot away from being the record-holding genuine GOAT, that's out the window now.
Yeah,
so
I would
now
say
we get to see
Leon somehow wins again in the trilogy and keeps a hold of the belt, we'll probably see Kamaru just retire.
Yeah, most likely. Well,
because I've heard about his
depending
knees.
on if Izzy still has the belt at that time.
He needs knee surgery and shit similar to what you had to deal with. His knees are horrible, and he just fights through that and shit all the time. He's still as athletic as he is, he still does what he fucking does. But
Oh
from
yeah.
what I've heard, he needs like almost knee replacement surgery for both fucking knees. So.
He's talked about like how it pops when he walks down the hallway normally when they're not training, like when he's
Yeah, I
just a
guess
real
he
like his
can't
both
even
knees
run.
pop
Like he
instantly.
can't
Yeah.
run to train. He just wrestles and shit, he grapples, he boxes, but he can't like actually go down the street and run. Like
Right. But
that's
the
tough.
other side of that, if Izzy loses the belt between now and that rematch, there's a good chance that Kamaru goes to 185, despite all that shit talking about wanting to go to 205. If Izzy doesn't have the fucking belt anymore at 185 and Kamaru doesn't get that belt back, I'd be willing to bet he'd at least taste the fucking waters at middleweight before he calls it a day. Because he's a big welterweight, realistically. Frame-wise, he's a big welterweight. He would probably do good at 185, especially considering some of the guys that are up there. I think he'd be a pretty decent match for some of those dudes. Now, granted, I think Izzy would realistically hand him his fucking ass. I think Pereira would probably hand him his fucking ass. I think Strickland might hand him his fucking ass, but it'd be fun. Like the shit talking and the sloppy fucking wrestling that Strickland would do to survive, that would be a fun goddamn fight, I think. So, and then with the announcement that we got last night about the confirmation of the next fight that's added to 279, the 170-pound fight that we're going to talk about in 2 weeks for sure. But since there's no show this Thursday, no full show this Thursday, I will go ahead and spill it now. We got confirmation from Dana White himself. Tony Ferguson at 170 versus Li Jingliang, the Leech, confirmed for 279 in 3 weeks. Yeah, that's going to be fucking fun. That's either going to be Tony's return to greatness or Tony's retirement fight. Like either the Leech sends him out or he hands the Leech the fucking business and decides to stay at 170 for his last couple of fights in the UFC, I think.
Yeah, because Leach's last fight, man, he fucking looked fantastic. So if he goes out, puts Tony
He
out
gave
like
Muslim
fucking
the
Chandler
business.
did, it's time for Tony to hang it up just like Rockhold. That's the only thing I'm worried about, man. He looked great in that first round against Michael Chandler like a fucking few months ago.
Right.
So I'm excited to, like you said, potentially see Tony make a little step back against somebody that's pretty damn good. And that'll be an exciting fucking fight with that. But man, I don't want to see him get knocked out again. I hope that chin fucking holds up because Leach has some fucking power, man. It's gonna be a crazy fight. That was a
I
good
think
fucking
that's kind of the
announcement for
morbid
that.
side of me, though, is that I just think of it this way: like, if Leach does knock him the fuck out at 170, his brain's more hydrated. He's, you know what I mean? Like, there's more fluid there. If he does get laid the fuck out at 170, it won't be as bad as getting Chandler. Like that one, that's one of those fucking KOs that you're like, that took some years off his life, realistically. Like, that Princess Bride took a couple of years off his fucking life, that kick, man. So, like, at least at 170, if he gets fucking leveled again, there's a little more water in his fucking skull to help that jello mold from sloshing around. So that's the weird silver lining my brain draws out of that. I will say this, despite all of the crazy shit that went down at 278, I think one of honestly my favorite fucking things about the whole kit and caboodle, once it's all fucking wrapped up with a bow, fight of the night bonus, 2 performance of the night bonus, like the MMA gods intended. Performance of the night bonus, Altamirano for that fucking crazy fucking opening fight. Dude, went ape shit. I get it. Give that man his fucking money. And then Leon Edwards for the head kick that literally changed the MMA world. Fight of the night, indisputably, Luke Rockhold versus Paolo Costa. Send that motherfucker off with a fucking fight of the night bonus that's probably going to get inducted into the Hall of Fame, realistically. I love when they do bonuses right. I probably would have not picked Altamirano for the other performance, but I get it. It was crazy. It was opening fucking fight. Good on you. Leon definitely deserves 50K for that fucking kick, though. You got to hand it to him. But that is UFC 278 and the wrap up of this weekend's punchy kicky goodness. Thank you to everybody who tuned in or is catching this on a replay. We appreciate you just the same. If you are checking this out fairly recently to the Saturday that 278 went down, please remember we will not have an I'm No Joe podcast this coming Thursday because there are no UFC or relevant large punchy kicky cards this coming weekend. So we are taking a much deserved break this week. We will be back, however, in 2 weeks on September 1st for the next matchup in the Pit Grand Prix for that crazy UFC Paris card taking place on the weekend of the 3rd. We will have all sorts of goodness going down. You'll have to stay tuned to see who's in that match, but it's going to be a good one. I'm telling you right fucking now, it's going to be fun. That being said, if you enjoy what we do around here, give us a thumbs up. We'd appreciate it. If you don't want to miss an episode, make sure you're subscribed on whatever platform you are consuming this, whether it is on YouTube, youtube.com/I'm No Joe, where we do the What Did I Say shows live Sunday nights at 9:30. I'm No Joe podcasts go live at 9:30-ish Thursday nights on the channel here. Full podcasts from the I'm No Joe podcast are available, obviously, Thursday nights live on YouTube or the week after broadcast in all audio format. Anchor.fm/I'm No Joe. You can pick it up to your podcast consumption platform of choice. We also have a Discord server. The link is running down along the scroll bar. It's also down in doobly-doo down there. We've got all sorts of fun channels over there. The brothers Slow Bake even have a channel over there for their podcast. Go check out their podcast, Slow Bake and Contemplate, if you haven't checked that out yet. Available through Spreaker, right?
Spreaker, Spotify, wherever the fuck you get your podcast. Yeah, appreciate it.
There you go. Links to that is down in the description as well, so be sure to check that out as well. If you want to support what we do around here, the best way to do that, patreon.com/I'm No Joe. For as little as $1 a month, you get your name on the thank you list that every single broadcast that goes out on this channel has, and you get access to behind the scenes, unaired, and literally unairable content, things that we cannot legally show the public without a paywall. And look, I don't like to brag, but I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. To my knowledge, there's only been one podcast ever deemed too spicy and kicked off of OnlyFans, and you're tuned the fuck into it. But luckily for us, Patreon don't give a damn, and all that spice that was too much for OnlyFans, we brought it on over to Patreon. So it's little as $1 a month, gets you access to all the goodies, helps us do what we do, and it gets you thank you at the end of everything that happens on this channel. On the other hand, if you don't like what we get up to around here, first and foremost, what the fuck are you doing still tuned into a podcast that you're not enjoying? Give us a thumbs down and fuck off. We won't even dispute it. That being said, that's all we've got for this particular episode. Until next time, folks, remember, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything, unless it's thinking they're not going to come down to Mar-a-Lago to get those fucking files, dumbass.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.